Hello, I'm Brent Hite. Welcome back to my channel. Got a little excursion, a mini excursion lined up for the next couple of days. I got my friend and cameraman Trey Vernon, who's coming up from South Arkansas. We're going to meet in the Ozark Mountains. Got a place picked out to set up base camp. We're going to look for some artifacts. We're going to explore a cave and possibly interview a man about an archaeological site that's near where we're going to be staying, and just have some fun over the next couple of days and share it with you guys. Okay, we're about 6 miles from the mound site. On the side of the highway, there's a scenic overlook here, and there's something that just has always jumped off the page at me. A couple of things, actually. I'm gonna try to zoom in here and find these odd shaped mountains in the distance there. Okay, so this one is the one I was a little bit afraid of. It doesn't look so bad right here, but on the other side over there it's kind of swift. And these things can pick you up and slide you down the creek, so. Does it look somebody's been across that today, Trey?
It does not. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it does. On the other side, you see some water. Somebody's been over it.
What do you think?
In for a penny, in for a pound, brother.
We'll try it. I'll hammer it if it gets bad. Yeah, we slid just a little bit then, but not too bad. Hey, okay, you're my call man. I gotta tell you this, and I'm gonna screenshot a number and send it to you, but I'm getting ready to go in a cave, and if you don't hear from me by 6 o'clock, then I want you to call this number that I screenshot to you and tell him to come looking for me. And we're in the same cave that I took you in, okay? Last time you were here. So basically, when we go caving, we use rock climbing helmets. I've got this one rigged up. This is my personal one. I've got about 5 or 6 of these when I have people go with me, but I use 2 different kinds. I use Petzl, I use Black Diamond. I use Black Diamond lights. I like their lights the best right now. I've used Petzl lights before, but these are the 2 top names in rock climbing helmets. So I'm gonna let you have the Black Diamond helmet. We're gonna rig it up with a light, get some hot batteries, get some extra batteries, and we're gonna rig up, go in this cave. So I got a brand new Black Diamond light. You got one of these, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I got some extra ones. Rig this helmet up. We'll get set up and we'll head on down that creek right there behind you. Getting ready to gear up.
Take my light.
See if these gloves fit you, and I'm gonna rig up your caving helmet. Alright, I've hung a key on the antenna of the front of my truck, okay? I've got a key in my pocket. So if anything happens to me, you need to get back out. There's a key hanging around the antenna of my truck.
Got it.
And there's also... Last time I was here, there was no water at all. In this creek it was bone dry. It was only about a month ago. And we are in bear country, so keep your eyes open for that. Okay, so this is the entrance to the cave. This is a known cave. I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about it. We just came to the town of Marshall, and back about 100 years ago, this was known to most of the people in Marshall. Now probably hardly anybody in Marshall knows about this cave. But the reason why it was known is because you saw me filming when we come down the road to come here. And if you'll notice, and I'll show it again so you can see what I'm talking about, that there's some slow, long, lazy curves in the road. And the reason why the road is like that is because this used to be a railroad track. And the railroad ran steam engines back then. So if you'll notice, back up here where we got off the road and cross the creek, the water pools up right there. There's a pool of water. It gets a little deeper down by where the truck is. And the train would stop there. And that's where they would fill the steam engine up with water. And the local people would grow produce, and they would store it inside this cave. And it stayed a constant temperature year-round of about 52 degrees. And so it was a good place to store produce, and then they would sell it to the train, and the train would head on up towards Missouri, and they would resell it when they got up there. So this is kind of a historical place. So I've trained a lot of people in this cave, and it's a good cave for training. It's not a real nice looking cave as far as stalactites and stalagmites, but it's a good cave to test people to see if they're claustrophobic and to expose them to total darkness for the first time and just get a feel for what caving is all about. There is an endangered species of bat that lives in this cave. It's called the brown bat, and the last time I was here was mating season, and we saw some successful mating practices taking place in the cave. So I'm hoping that this rare bat continues to flourish. So we probably will see some bats. Try to avoid them if they're hanging from the ceiling. Try not to bother them. But another thing I want to tell you is if you see them flying around, when they get near you, look down. Because if you look up, they might land on your face, and it'd kind of freak you out probably. So if they get near you, sometimes they'll circle you. Just look down until they're gone, and then move on. You don't bother them. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Good. See any eyes yet? All right, there is some water running here. Let me get my light tilted right. Okay. Let's get right over here where we got a tall ceiling, and let's turn our lights off. Let's go a little bit further. We got to get in what they call the twilight zone. All right, so you see what we're doing? Okay, so let's turn our headlights off. And what we want to do is we can barely make out daylight from the entrance. And so we want to stand here for a few minutes and let our eyes adjust to the level of darkness that we have. And then what we're doing is we're letting our pupils open up, and then we'll turn our lights back on and we'll make our way back. All right, so go ahead and turn your headlights back on. I'm gonna put mine on bright. All right. And now I gotta warn you about something. Since this cave was used a long time ago, you can't see it right where we are, it's buried up, but there is a pipe that runs through the center of this cave, and it's a ventilation pipe. And it was hot riveted together, but it's over 100 years old, so it's rusty. So stay to either the right or the left of it. Don't walk on it. If your foot were to slip through it or break through the rust, it can give you a nasty cut on your ankle. And you'll see it better when we get up here. Go. All right, you see it right there?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of stay away from it. Just keep in mind where it is. And I'm looking for bats right now. See this hole in it right here? That's what I'm talking about. It's jagged and rusty. And you'll get a nasty cut. Step over it here. And I'm still looking for bats.
Some of those stalactites look like bats.
Gotta check out this hole over here.
Oh, that's neat.
Now, a lot of times, this is called a drip. You see how this big oval is here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of times in these drips, it's a good place to find artifacts, and the water uncovers the dirt off the top of them. And this is where we found the Calf Creek point in a cave not too long ago. It's not right here, but in a drip like this. I don't see anything that looks like an artifact there. All right, now I'm standing on the pipe right now. Let's get over to the side here.
What's this other pipe?
It's where that water was dripping from. For some reason, they got spring water running out the back of this thing. I don't know who did it. This is called a cave cricket. This is one of the few critters you see this far back in the cave, and they work in total darkness. You'll see salamanders, you'll see cave crickets, you'll see bats. And there's something called a cave fly, which is a lot like the common house fly, except it can operate in total darkness. But right here is where they used to store the produce. And they built, I don't know exactly why, but they built this rock wall. But behind that wall is some more entrances that go back into the cave. But the biggest one is right here. And when I was in here last time, we actually did a crawl, and I think I see a bat hanging from the ceiling now. But we actually did this crawl, and it's about a 50-yard crawl. You just get on your hands and knees, and it gets down real shallow. and you crawl back there about 50 yards, and then you pop into this room that's about 15 feet in diameter, but it's about 60 feet tall. The room is. And then there's another crawl like this that's about 75 yards, and you crawl through it, and then you can get up and walk again for about another 600 yards like we just walked right now. So you can walk upright, but you got to make 2 crawls first. And you want to get up in there?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so this kind of gives you an idea of, you know, what you got to do to get on back into the back part of this thing. And we can do this at a later date, but you got to get out on your hands and knees, and in some cases on your belly and crawl. There's one place in there where the ceiling is about 14 inches high from the floor. And so when you crawl through, your belly's touching the floor and your back's touching the ceiling. And it's kind of uncomfortable feeling, but you get used to it. And so this is the rock wall. And I think this might be a good place to bring a metal detector, because if there's commerce going on outside, there's probably change in the pocket, and it's probably silver change. And there's probably some of it got lost back here in the shuffle. But we're just barely in the limestone region of north central Arkansas where the limestone is. And so you're starting to get a little bit of stalactite action where it looks like stuff's just melting and oozing down. But you got to go just a little bit farther north of here to get into the good stuff. I meant to also mention, you can see how, I don't know if the camera will pick it up that well, but you can see it really looks gold there. If you step down in this hole and shine up there, it really shimmers a gold color.
If you can see that very well, it looks like somebody threw glitter all over the ceiling.
Yeah, that's actually, it's actually liquid droplets, but the liquid has something in it that's kind of like pyrite that makes it, you notice how it looks gold?
Yeah.
And so that's why it shimmers like that, is because of the mineral content in the water droplets.
Here's that wall.
So the rocks you see there have probably been stacked like that for over 100 years. So is this your first time to do a wild cave tour?
Yeah, I mean one like this. I've been in some, and maybe up in Harrison, crawled a little ways into them, but
you've been in Blanchard Springs, hadn't you?
I've been in there, yeah, but not anything like this.
Yeah.
It's, you know, going back this far and everything.
So in a minute before we leave, I want us to turn our light completely off, and you can experience what total darkness is. You cannot even see your hand in front of your face. So what do you feel, claustrophobic or anything, or?
Not at all. I think the only thing that would bother me is getting through tight places with, you know, the fear of getting stuck. I'm not necessarily too scared of something being small, but I could see where you would definitely want to bring some type of gear with you. I mean, you'd have to, but
yeah, like you've already mentioned, you've already hit your head once.
Well, yeah.
You don't realize, you're not used to watching for the top of your head, and when you're in a low ceiling space like this, you will often bump it pretty good. There is a bat right behind you. See that bat?
Oh, it is.
All right, let's ease up to it. That's not the endangered species. This is a smaller version, but he's in hibernation state right now. And let's see if I can get a little bit closer to him. But the brown bat is about 3 times his size. Pretty cool. Maybe better off if we get on this wall over here. Let's get on this wall over here. And what I want us to do is put your hand against the wall and just brace yourself. just like your arm, and then let's turn the lights completely off. Keep them. Turn the lights, I can't get my light to go off. All right. And so now, we're in total darkness, except the only thing I can see is your GoPro light. But if you look away from it, put your hand in front of your face, you cannot see anything at all.
Oh, you can't. My gosh.
All right, lights on. Now, another thing is to think about, all right, this is a pretty straightforward cave, but let's say we had a light failure and we didn't have backup lights. So we would have to walk out of here without being able to see. And it wouldn't be so bad in this cave, because this cave, we just pretty much went straight back. All you'd have to do is walk to the wall until you found something to rest against, and then you'd have to feel your way. But look at the dangers below. You don't know what your foot's coming up against. Look over here, you got drop-offs. Let me turn my bright on. And you've got obstacles to maneuver around. You know, you could break a leg right there real easy if you can't see. So in some instances, it would be better to get down and crawl, but keep your arm or something against the wall and find your way out of here. But there's some caves that you go into that it's like a maze, and you're probably not going to find your way out. That's why, like right now, I have about 7 flashlights on my body, different pockets. You know, I've got extra batteries, so that's why you carry multiple lights when you go into a place like this. And in my pouch here, I've got water, I've got a candle, I've got a trash bag. In the event that, like, it's 52 in here right now, and that's enough over an extended period of time to develop hyperthermia. But with this trash bag, I can cut a hole in the top of it, and I can poke my head through it and put the trash bag around me, and it will trap my body heat. And, you know, and if you had to, you could take this candle and you could light it and put it inside the bag with you. You kind of set an Indian position on the floor, and the candle would be between your legs there, and you could keep yourself warm for an extended period of time and keep from developing hypothermia. So I got water. I usually have some kind of food item. You know, I've never been trapped in a cave before, but I'm always prepared to be in the event that something happens. So here's some of that. You can see that here, how that's loose. See, there's a gap up there. It looks like that's pulling away from the ceiling. This piece right here could weigh 300 or 400 pounds. So it's not a good practice to get under stuff, or especially grab something, because we don't know how much pull it would take for this to come down. And so I always pay attention to the ceiling. And this is all solid right here in front of us, so not any danger. Yeah, but I usually just brace myself. I don't usually grab a hold of stuff on the ceiling. But I have had to walk in places where it's so slick and muddy that you have to brace yourself against the ceiling to keep from sliding down. So we've had some recent rain, and it usually takes 2 or 3 days, depending on how deep you are in the cave, for the rainwater to reach the interior of the cave. And you can see that dripping there. So the rain was about 3 days ago. And so that's probably, like when I was in here about a month ago, that wasn't dripping. And so it depends on how wet your season is to how much drip you get in the cave. See how it's pretty dry over here, right above you? And a lot of times that will be wet if you have a real wet year. But what causes stalactites and stalagmites, just like right here, see how that's real brown? You got a high iron content in the soil above us, and that reddish brown is coming from an iron content, and it's mixed with some limestone, and so it solidifies as it eases down, and eventually that slick spot right there will meet the ground, and eventually the calcium that's dripping out of that water will pile up on the ground, and the stalagmite and the stalagmite tight will reach each other and they'll form a column. In some of these caves you go to, there's gigantic columns, which, you know, this dripping has taken place over hundreds or thousands of years and formed these giant columns in caverns. Watch the pipe. Yeah, we came back farther, and what you realize, you know, you're kind of excited when you first come in here. You got some adrenaline going, and you don't realize how far you walked until you start back out, and you was like, we went back there a pretty good ways.
Good place to be in July.
Would your wife or daughter come in here?
Oh yeah.
You think so?
I know Kate would.
Well, you ought to bring her. How old is she now?
22.
22 years old.
There's another bat.
Yep. Now that, is that a larger one?
Yep.
That's a brown bat, I believe. Yep, that is. And that's the one that's rare. It's endangered. And that's the ones we encountered last time. They're not real active. They were real active last time we were in here. And he may fly if we disturb him too much. Let's try to get a close-up of him. Yep.
We walked right by him, I guess.
Yep, probably so. We're probably talking.
You notice it's feeling cooler?
Mm-hmm.
You see daylight?
Yeah, we're getting closer to the entrance. So we actually passed through a thermocline just beyond that bat, and you can't really tell it drastically in this cave, but some caves that you go in, especially in the summertime when it's real hot outside, you can feel yourself pass through the thermocline, which is where it means you're deep enough back to where the constant temperature begins, and it stays about, in this area, about 55 to 52 year round. And it's like, you know, scuba divers experience that when they're diving. They dive underwater and they get to a certain place and they pass through the thermocline and the water temperature changes. And you can actually feel that in the air, you know, when you're in a cave. Now that place you're looking at there, I've been up in there. It doesn't go very far, just a little bit, but it's a pretty neat little passage up there, but it only goes a few yards up in there.
Kind of wet.
Yeah, muddy. There's water flow that comes from up there. You can tell how clear this water is, though.
Yeah, look coming out of the pipe.
Yeah, there's a spring, actually. I forgot to show you a hole back there by the wall, by the rock wall. Mm-hmm. There's a hole, and you can crawl in that hole and go back further in the cavern, and there's actually a waterfall in the back of it. All right, getting close to the entrance here, and the sun's going down, but it's still out. It's getting cooler. It got down pretty cool last night. It was really cold this morning. And there's my hat. A little different out here, doesn't it?
Second time I hit my head. Yeah, it does. It's pretty cool.
There's your hat over there. I was wondering where your hat went.
Get our civilian clothes back on.
Yeah.
So we just came out, and I was noticing when you look up at the hill, or the mountain rather, that's what we were inside of. You can see all the trees, and you know how much stuff is above you. Just by physics, you would think it would all cave in at any given time, but obviously it won't. Cool experience though.
in the truck, turn the heat on, and get on down the road.
Amen.
Yep, I'm out. We didn't do the crawl, we just walked to the back, to that wall before the crawl, and then come back out. Yep, we're good. I'll call you later on. Alright, bye. So we're at one of the few remaining drive-in theaters. We're in Marshall, Arkansas. And these posts that you see out here are the stands that you plug your speaker in when they hand it to you when you come in the gate. You pay a fee to get in the gate, hand you a speaker. And what I was just getting ready to say before we started filming is this building right here will take you back in time, because when you, before the movie comes on, there's the food parade comes on the screen up here, and you're watching the hot dog and the cheeseburger and the popcorn and all this stuff marching down the street. And so you go into the food place, and I mean, it's like walking back in time. The food smells the same. You got a good cheeseburger, good quality hot dogs. I mean, everything's just awesome. Everything tastes great. Milk duds, M&Ms, whatever. Coca-Cola in a glass bottle. I mean, it's just like going back in time, if you can remember back that far, if you're old enough to remember back that far. And it really shocked me when I walked in there, because it just, I mean, I was probably 4 years old last time I went to a drive-in, 5 or 6 maybe. And